You're tuned in to Floridian Rollo. I'm your host, Floridian Rollo. Good day to everybody tuning in to the show. Good day to everybody tuning in to the show. So, if you're out there on the West Coast, or you're in Russia or Japan, may you stay safe out there. Let me show you what's going on.
It warns that larger waves could yet follow. Authorities have told nearly 2 million people across the country to evacuate their homes and get to higher ground.
2 million people.
Let's bring in journalist Sonia Blaschke, who joins us from Tokyo. And let's talk about the situation in Japan, Sonia. The country is on high alert. What can you tell us about the situation on the ground?
Yes, the whole country is under tsunami advisory, and a large part is also under evacuation warning from the north in Hokkaido to the center in Wakayama. And so far, as you mentioned earlier, tsunamis up to 60 centimeters have been registered. However, warnings up to 3 meters are in place. And the meteor.
So basically, this is serious. So they're working on evacuating the people to high areas because it might be catastrophic. Lord willing, that it's not. However, it seemed like it's about to be serious. And they talked about the whole West Coast line, to be on high alert too, to go into higher places and get off the coastlines if possible. So may y'all be safe out there. May y'all definitely be safe out there because this situation with the warnings, the risk, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. I know that we live in a time such as never before. At the same time, this is not to push fear. If they are giving out the alert to evacuate you, your family, your pets, etc., just for the time being until, the storm goes through, you know. And don't think, that I shouldn't leave. No, you should leave. You should evacuate and wait to see what happens within a week or within the hours or so. So, yeah, this is a serious situation that's going on, with this storm and stuff. I'm going to play it again. Give me 1 second. I'm doing something real quick. There's something I have to do on this phone. It's not allowing me to do it for some reason. What's going on? That's interesting. Now I'm having an issue logging into my YouTube studio. I never had the issue before. Let me see if this works here. Okay, there we go. We're going to get back to the information in a second. I want y'all to hear what they have to say. Give me 1 second, y'all. I wonder why this thing's taking long. Yeah. So if you out there in Japan, you out there in the West Coast, may y'all be safe out there. Know you're dealing with some serious stuff. And I want you to know that I'm paying attention to what's going on. To my peoples in the West Coast, from Washington all the way down to San Diego. Y'all be safe out there too, as well. You know, don't take this lightly. You know, because this is a serious, serious situation. All right, let's continue.
Meteorological Agency insisted that people need to stay on the alert because in a quake in, for example, in 1952 in the same region, the highest waves only came 9 hours after the earthquake. So they expect that people have to stay on the alert really for the whole day. And that's becoming an issue because Japan is experiencing very high summer temperatures of up to 40 degrees. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a really tricky situation. Do you stay away from the coast, but at the same time you have to watch out for heat stroke? Yeah, very tricky situation in Japan right now.
And we hear that the Fukushima power plant has also been evacuated. What can you tell us about that?
There's actually not much information about this in Japan at the moment. Obviously, they've learned the lesson from the last time, from the last big earthquake and tsunami in 2011,
Right.
to take precautions there. But as of now,
They did a movie on that, about the 2011 tsunami. So let's see what she says.
don't have too many detailed information on the situation there. Near the Fukushima area in Sendai, the airport has been evacuated, and also trains and ferries have been affected.
Wow.
Around 2 million people have been ordered to evacuate along the Japanese eastern seaboard. Talk us through the safety protocol.
So usually the first thing that happens is a push notice to the mobile phones. People use apps, and there are also alerts through email. And then depending on where you are and where the earthquake takes place, people have between just 10 minutes and about 1 hour to reach higher ground. In 2011, it was between 30 minutes and 60 minutes. This time it's very different because the earthquake epicenter was so far away. So people have been waiting for hours now and have to keep waiting because the time lag between the first, second, third wave is so long. It can take up to an hour. So they will
Wow.
have to stay evacuated there for much longer. And very early in the whole process, they were closing flood doors, for example. People were trying not necessarily to get really far away from the coast, but really to reach either higher ground or higher buildings. So that was one of the lessons learned from 2011, I think.
Yeah. 2011, of course, when a devastating tsunami hit the Japanese coast. How much does the memory of that earthquake, that tsunami that followed,
They're not going to forget that. You know, yes, time moved on, life goes on, yet they're not going to forget that because they lost a lot of loved ones. And so when this, is happening, of course they're going to look into what happened that time. And so it reminds them of who they lost. People lost children, people lost mothers, fathers, grandmothers, the list goes on. It was a horrific time. And they learned that, okay, now if it comes again, they more ready. So the people more ready, yet of course in the back of their mind, they're like, this is the right decision I made because they're going through it. So now, not only they going through it, not only Russia going through it, the West Coast, the whole West Coast line, got to be prepared for something of this magnitude. This is not fear. This is just to be prepared to have somewhere to go for the time being until the storm calms. You know. All right, let's continue.
Tribute to the unease about the current situation.
Several people interviewed by Japanese media have said they are very worried.
Salute, Mr. Rufus. Salute, sir. How you doing? Salute. Good day to you, your wives, your children, your family, the people in your area. Salute to all of them and what you're doing. Yeah, this is a very serious, situation. I know that a lot of people is being touched by this. So send out your prayers to, you know, the folks on the California line and, San Diego, LA, the Bay, all the workers that's going to be, out there in this environment, the earthquake and all it's a lot of stuff going on in this world, y'all. And we know about the birth pains. We get that part. It's just that people give yourself up to God, to Christ, and repent of your sins, your iniquity, own up to your responsibilities, because we all got force with us. We all things we have to work on and continue to work on in this day of time. And I'm here to let the people know that's tuning in and rocking with the show that I'm sending out my prayers. May the Most High protect y'all and your family, and that He provides services for y'all. Because we live in a time such as never before. And hopefully a lot of people evacuate, take this serious. It's better to be safe than sorry. Go up in the higher. And this is important. This is why it's important to have conversations and have connections with people and be respectful to one another, because each one teach one. And you never know that day, that time, or hour, that you're going to need that person wherever you at in the world. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue. Let me get this situated. Hold on one second. All right.
Memories are coming back, obviously, and I think it has given these warnings a whole different sense of urgency. Whereas before, it was more like a theoretical danger or risk, so to speak. But people know the extreme damage a tsunami can cause, and
Right.
are more aware of the risks of waves, one wave following the other, waves, higher waves coming in much later, as we've actually seen this time as well. So the earlier waves were actually a bit lower than maybe the third or fourth wave.
That's journalist Sonia Blaschke with the latest from Tokyo. Thank you so much for your reporting, Sonia. Well, the waves caused by the earthquake have already hit Russia's far east Pacific coast. 3 waves rolled across low-lying areas of Severokurilsk. That's the main settlement on the Kuril Island. Authorities there say residents were evacuated to higher ground. Russia's RIA news agency says buildings have been damaged along with a power grid, but as of yet, no serious injuries have been reported.
So it already hit Russia, in the important part of Russia, where there's no activity going on. The power is out. You know, it's going to take years maybe to get that all the contamination that comes with the tsunami, because it comes with contamination, it comes with certain issues, and so I'm glad that the people took in consideration of listening to the leaders of their world and got themselves out of there, got what they need, and got out of there before it came. So hopefully the Japan people do that, and the people on the coastline of the West Coast do that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you go inland just to be on the safe side. Because it's a lot of people in the West Coast. You're talking about millions of people. You're talking about 2 million people in Japan alone. They got to evacuate. That's going to take time. Then you're talking about a good, 15, 20, 25 million, maybe more. People live in the West Coast on the coastline by the beach, and, live by those particular areas in a 10-mile radius. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's depending on who you talk with. Mr. Rufus could, explain. He knows about this as well as anybody that is, travel certain parts of the world or travel certain places in the coastline, that you try to be more inland as possible. Now, it's nothing wrong living by the beach. You know what I'm saying? I stayed by the beach before. And so I know that they always tell you, they give you a certain alert on your phone or the wave tide. It's a lot of stuff that goes with it. So you want to be as inland as possible, in higher grounds as much as possible. being that said, when you have the Most High, you have the protection of Christ, the hedge, the head. What ends up happening is by before you even know what's going on, He will provide a service for you and your family and your loved ones to be in a situation to where you be evacuated into a certain location for that time being. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I'm not pushing fear. I'm not getting people to be paranoid, being in the beach, being on the beach line, being on that coastline. What I'm saying is, it's about to be some cleaning going on. The earth has to clean its course of whatever is going on in that particular area, particular town. And I talked about it with the testing situation. People touching certain things, people are, doing things they're not supposed to do, and Mother Nature is kicking behind. Unfortunately, it caused casualties. It caused you lose certain things. Nobody want to lose anything. At the same time, you don't want to lose your life. You know, you got it reserved for a reason. You're here for a reason. We all here for a reason for the time being. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue. Mr. Rufus says inland is best, more escape routes. Absolutely, yes, sir. That's very true. And the thing about being, near the coastline, most people don't have boats. Most people don't have tsunami gear. There's a lot of stuff. Like me personally, I mean, Mother Nature gonna do what she do. At the same time, you gotta have certain gear. When you live in the South or you live on the coastline of the West Coast, you always want to go to these places and have you and your family. You have certain gear, to bring with you, certain masks and certain things. I was taught, in New York City, have certain fire masks. Get you a strong fire mask. Get you certain things to put on your add on to your body. It's gonna be heavy. Get certain things to prepare. Get your family situated. You know what I'm saying? Because you could prevent certain things to go into your lungs, into your eyes, into your. Whew, it's not a joke, man. It's beautiful to live on the beach. It's beautiful to see the shore and all that. Because even when I go to Miami or I'm in a certain part of Miami and I'm not too far from the water, it always come across my mind. Okay, there's not. It's hard to evacuate. You know what I'm saying? Because if you by the beach and Lord forbid, certain things go on. You don't know how to swim. You don't have certain gear. These are the things that people have to, be in consider of. So it's always to have emergency stuff, in your house, and you take it with you wherever you go, just in case. All right, let's continue.
Let's talk now to Yuri Rishetto. He covers Russia for us from Riga. Yuri, the quake hit off the coast of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. What do we know about the situation in the affected areas?
Well, Nicole, the Russian authorities report that the magnitude reached 8.57, making it the strongest earthquake in the Kamchatka seismic zone since 1952. In Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsk, the regional capital of Kamchatka, the shaking intensity was at least 7 points in this city. After the main earthquake, there were about 30 so-called aftershocks. Seismologists warned that strong aftershocks would continue for at least another month.
Wow.
After the earthquake,
they say it may continue for another month. My goodness. My goodness. May all the people that is going through it in them countries, Lord forbid, go through it in the West Coast. Y'all be safe out there. Y'all be safe out there, and may you have somewhere to be for the time being. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't take things for granted. We know that certain things had going on in the Southeast, the Midwest as well. Like, Mr. Rufus said, You have to be more inland. There's nothing wrong of you having something near the coast. Just know that there are more probability of you dealing with certain things that most people may not have to deal with inland for the most part. No place is unscathed. The thing is, there are places for us to be at if things get serious. This is where you have friendships, opportunities, and this is why, the conversation was important last night because, Ringo touched on it, Brainwaves touched on it, I touched on it as well. You have to have connections with certain people. You have to be on point because if anything goes down, we know who to call, how we could get there. We have escape plans. It's a lot of stuff going on. Mr. Rufus is a trailblazer in this. He knows about all this stuff. He done his research. Uh, there's some other brothers like Elder Karadasar done his homework, his research in respect to the elders. They speak the truth. You know, Ringo and Brainwaves, of course, speak the truth. That we was taught when we was young men, you know, to have evacuate plans. It was once upon a time, and I know it still goes on, that if you watch certain, channels, certain shows, they always used to point out evacuees have an escape plan. Like Rufus said, it's difficult to escape in the coastline because there's not too many bridges, there's not too many tunnels, there's not too many hiding areas you could go to. Whether you inland or you in the middle of the place you in, you deemed to not deal with as much complications as if you are in the coastline. So the more higher in the hills you are, the more probability of you being safe for the time being. It's that when you're close to these waters and these beautiful waters, beautiful landscapes, it comes with opportunities to flourish at the same time. You have to always have that in your mind that, okay, Lord forbid, what if? Do you have things set up in your vehicle? Is your tires, is your car on point? Are you maintaining your vehicle? These are the things you have to think about. Or you have a bike, some type of way of you getting from point A to point B. All right, let's continue.
A tsunami warning was issued. A dangerous, strong tsunami was observed on the coast of Kamchatka and in Severokurilsk, Sakhalin region. In one area of Kamchatka, a weather station recorded a tsunami 3 to 4 meters high.
Wow.
In Severokurilsk, according to media reports and videos on the internet, the tsunami flooded the port and a fishing company, and also a powerful wave in the port swept ships from their moorings out to sea. Also in the Kuril Islands, you said it, about 3,000 people were evacuated to safe areas. That's the latest from there.
This, for all intents and purposes, looks like an event of historic proportions. Were authorities prepared for such a massive quake, Yuri?
Well, look, there are videos online from the Russian Civil Defense Agency that do not show any major damage. What we can see is a wall collapse in a kindergarten building in Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsk, but no one seems to be injured seriously. The authorities say that there are injured people, but no deaths so far. Also, after the earthquake,
So not everybody has been evacuated. Some people stayed in their stores. They stayed in their, apartments. They stayed in these environments. They didn't have the resources, it seemed like, to get out. Well, we all know that that could be the case. At the same time, this is why it's important to have relationships with people so that when these things happen, they will provide a service for you because you've been a gratitude person to them. You can't be mean to everybody. The thing is, people want to be mean to you, and they don't realize you're the reason that they could be going places in the future. Yet they want to, do crash outs and do this and do that. Buster Free said Law International. The Lord is the international man. It's the Most High, man. I'm just a man that I'm gratitude by the Most High to share this information with y'all and point out some things to pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue.
Internet was temporarily unavailable but was later restored, it said. We don't know what the situation is like in rural areas. Kamchatka is huge and relatively thinly populated. I've been there a few times. Most of the buildings, Nicole, are old Soviet-style concrete blocks from the 70s and 80s across the coast, which are already on the point of collapse without any earthquake. We hear that the power grid on the island.
Why did he mention the point of collapse? What do you mean the point of collapse? You see what they be pushing? They be pushing this narrative that we want y'all to collapse. They want the people to collapse. They say they want the people to evacuate. Now this individual is saying that we're in the point of collapse. Words could be powerful. You got to be mindful of what you say. Don't have a defeative mindset because certain things are happening in this particular country or these particular states. You got these people pushing fear. Don't be in fear.
Island Sakhalin has been destroyed and the electricity has gone out. So we have to wait for further reports and, of course, see the consequences of the tsunami. We must wait for further reports before we draw any conclusions about the authorities.
Russia on high alert today as well. That was Yuri Roshetto covering events for us from Riga. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me go to West Coast. Let me go there. Let's get to the news. All right, here we go.
And we start with the tsunami scare. This is a live look at Hokkaido, Japan. You see the sea rolling on in as a tsunami impacting that area right now. Hokkaido is the northernmost island from Japan, far to the north and east of Kyoto and Tokyo. We're eyeing that right now because a tsunami advisory is in alert for the entire West Coast. Now, they're seeing the waves roll on in. Let's go ahead and open up Nick's mic because he's the expert on this, if we can. A massive 8.8 quake hit earlier this evening off the coast of Russia, triggering tsunami waves that reached Japan's northern island of Hokkaido and Russia's Kuril Islands. Nick, talk about what you're seeing with this, because a tsunami is a series of waves, and we're watching that surge live as it comes on.
It's kind of like the situation with the guy going to New York and he wanted to do something in that building and he did. It's kind of like the same thing. It's like they let you know in code what to watch out for, what to look out for. You just have to read between the lines. And Russia's been having a lot of issues over the last 2 months. So this tsunami is just to add on to what they got going on in their country. And then Japan been having some complications the last month. It's just that this tsunami is opening up what's going on over there. The West Coast, it's a lot of things going on. I'm going to talk about Trump talking about getting rid of all the homelessness out there in LA. They want to clean up LA. And that him and Gavin Newsom is going at it. They claim that Gavin Newsom, the news is saying that he was trying to do that and it didn't work out. So he's trying to say that Trump don't know what he's talking about. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And remember, they're supposed to have an Olympics in 2026 in LA. So if you're out there in the Los Angeles area, let me know what's up in the comment section. Are they helping these people out or are they pushing them to another part of California so that they can have LA, cleaned up for the time being? It's kind of like when a particular person of power went to San Francisco and they cleaned the Bay out within 2 days. So what this tells you is that they have places for these people for the time being. It's just for whatever reason that people rather live in the streets than live in these places, And so They're gonna clean up LA for that time being because they're gonna have a lot of important people coming through, a lot of people supporting, and they don't want to show that side, So people gonna be like, I saw on the internet that a lot of people live in the street, which is true, and all of a sudden people gonna seem to forget because we live in a short, you know, short attention span type of society. All right. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, let's get to it.
On right now. Yeah, and a lot of times with these type of events, tsunami waves, a single wave can last about between as much as 15 to as high as 45 minutes per wave. So it's an increase of water coming in, and a lot of times when you see these type of events, the wave itself, as is in the middle of the part of the ocean there, could be quite long, right? The amplitude goes up when the wave comes into more shallow water and the wave slows down. So when it's over the open waters, the wave could travel the same speed as a commercial airliner, but slowing down as it approaches the coastline. And you're seeing it there. You can see the currents too, with the some of the white caps as the water current moves in. Yeah, I just wanted to bring you in early because it's rare that we get a live look at the actual tsunami as it's coming on, the series of waves. Thankfully, you see some populated areas right there, but this is an island, I'm being told, that's known for its volcanic activity, for its hot springs as well, as you take a wider scope of that. So, okay, we're going to show you the USGS right now as well if we can, because this part of Russia, the Kuril Trench, has a history of significant earthquakes. These areas are part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, making them prone to both earthquakes and tsunamis. And again, tsunami warnings.
All right, hold on. Let's get it. We already saw that already. They talk about it. Let's get to this.
The upgrade to an 8.8 means that it's the top 10 in terms of strongest earthquakes globally since 1900. Wow. So the strongest since the 2011 earthquake. That one in Japan, you might remember this well, those images there. The tsunami from that particular earthquake, 2011, was in excess of 130 feet in Japan. And by the time that tsunami made its way and impacting the west coast, the tsunami heights then ranged between 6 to 9 feet across parts of California. There were many boats that were sunk as a result of that. Lots of damage, millions of dollars of damage from that tsunami. So this, of course, I say that because this is much less, the wave heights from the tsunami that we're seeing reports of in Russia, 13 feet. All right, very different by a factor of 10 compared to...
That's a big one. 13 feet. Woo.
2011. So by the time the tsunami makes its way across the Pacific and impacts the California coastline, it's expected to be less than a foot for most. So that's why we don't have a tsunami warning. That's why it's a tsunami advisory here across the west coast of California. Now, as Tony mentioned, the epicenter of the quake took place just off the coast of Russia. And there's been a series of earthquakes since then. A lot of these are aftershocks in the range of magnitude 5 to 5.5, and many are above that. But that 8.7 recently has been upgraded to an 8.8.
Wow.
Again, the top 10 strongest. So it's going to take some time for those waves to get here. That said, low tide tonight is during the 10 o'clock hour for most cities along California's west coast. The earliest estimated arrival time for tsunami activity brings us after midnight to closer to 1 a.m. for San Francisco, and high tides at about 2 a.m.
Hey, Buster Free, you still in the chat? You still in the chat? Because I want to know, did you see a lot of people evacuated? What's going on out there in your state of California? What's going on? Let me know what's going on, because I know they had it closed down a lot of the, whatchamacallit. Not, how can I say it? You know what I'm talking about. There's certain places they close down the grid. They close down certain grids that people do the gas and oil and all that stuff. Them type of environments. I heard that they closed down. They're closing down because, this stuff is serious. And I know they have a reset button just in case. And if I'm not mistaken, that reset button is there to, keep certain things cool, so they learn from that tsunami in Japan, that area where all the important stuff was going on. So keep me posted what's going on out there, y'all. Y'all be safe, because a lot of this stuff, a lot of these things that we have on this earth, it's more inland. It's not inland, it's near the water. You know what I'm saying? So let's go.
Or so. So the tides are going to be going up. We're not looking at, again, a significant event here. But Tony, for those in the harbor, for those boaters, we'll notice more of a shift in that surge, if you will, the currents moving through, but not so much of an inundation concern for us. Right.
All right, so that's pretty much about it. Y'all be safe out there. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thank you for liking the video. In my conclusion, may y'all be safe out there. And I know it's very tough. A lot of people may think they lost a lot. No, y'all have each other. Y'all have each other. Sometimes these quote unquote, y'all consider disaster, it brings people together. It brings you to remember that, hey, I know I may have looked like seemingly I lost my home, I lost this, I lost that. I don't want nobody to lose anything. The main thing I would say out of this, you don't want to lose your soul. You don't want to give it over to the Debo. You get what I'm saying? Because they're going to push this fear. They're going to push this narrative. Yeah, you see now, you got to take this, you got to take that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, with that said, Mr. Rufus, thank y'all for tuning in. Buster Free, those of you who are in the clouds, appreciate your support. Looking forward to seeing what y'all got to say in the comment section. To my peoples in the West Coast, y'all be safe out there and, pay attention and make sure y'all good. Brown royalty to the people, we the business.